Hello and welcome everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to turn hot peppers into a not so hot sauce, or what I like to say, weak sauce. Now, why would anybody want to do that? Well, some people have blazing hot peppers like Carolina Reapers, 7-Pot, Chocolate Douglahs, things like that. And maybe not everybody likes super hot. You know, you want to make it for your family or something like that. And, you just need a way to cut down the heat a little bit, but yet still use them up. I'm making this video for my brother who has some blazing hot peppers, but wants to kind of cut them back. So yeah, this is my very simple. It's a non-fermented hot sauce. It's pretty simple. I would call it a Louisiana style, even though it's not really a Louisiana style. Louisiana style is 3 ingredients: peppers, vinegar, salt, and it's usually fermented. So this one's not fermented, and but it is very simple. It uses very simple ingredients and tools. You don't need any fancy things, but what you do need, here we'll go through, you first need some peppers. So I bought these. These are sweet peppers. I like to just eat these with some ranch or dip, of some sort. And this is what we're gonna use to actually cut the heat down. So we're gonna use some of these non-heat. And then just for simulation, you can't go to the store and buy fresh Carolina Reapers or 7-Pot Chocolate Douglahs, but you can find habaneros. So I'm gonna kind of simulate this hot sauce with habaneros. So this sauce is gonna be really weak because these are about, at max like 300,000 Scovilles, where Carolina Reapers are in that like 1.6 up to 2 point something. So this is gonna be significantly less. So if you do want to cut it even more, maybe even cut the Carolina Reaper in half or something like that, depending on your spice level. So then you're definitely going to need some vinegar. Today I'm going to be using some white vinegar, just what I have laying around. White vinegar is kind of sharp, also doesn't have a whole lot of flavors additional to the sourness. So you could use apple cider vinegar, you could use malt vinegar, is very good, depending on the profile you're looking for. But today, just gonna use good old white vinegar. You do need some salt. Just, plain old salt. You can use sea salt, pink salt, whatever you want. I've heard of people using black salt. I've never even really heard of that, but you could use that. You need some dry ingredients. So today I'm gonna be using a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion, and a little bit of paprika. Paprika is just dried, I think it's just dried bell pepper. So that should go with hot sauce, right? So I'm gonna use those. And then some of the tools that I like to use is an immersion blender. I like to keep my hot sauces away from the blender that we normally use. You don't want your smoothies, tasting like peppers or whatever else you're gonna make, milkshakes or something like that. So I try to I have a dedicated immersion blender specifically for hot peppers. And this one here happens to be a, I think it's Cuisinart, and it comes with its own little mixing vessel, which is perfect because I can just mix everything in here. This recipe that I'm going to be sharing makes about, 7 ounces or so. It'll basically fill a hot sauce bottle and a half or so, but I can just make everything in here. So it's nice and simple. You don't need a big pot or anything like that. And then you do need, this is kind of the secret to it all, you need a spice grinder. Again, this is a dedicated one for hot sauces. And so what we're gonna do, even though these are powders already, we need to grind them even finer. We need it like literally a powder, because onion powder and garlic powder can be kind of grainy, and that gets in the sauce, and it'll be fine, gives you flavor. But if you can pulverize it into a dust, then you get a much better distribution of the flavor, but it also thickens up the sauce. So this recipe doesn't use any thickeners like xanthan gum or cornstarch. Is it cornstarch that people use? But anyways, so this is just all natural stuff. What I like to do is I also like to take peppers, dehydrate them, and then turn those into a powder, kind of like the paprika, right? But at least I can match the pepper flavor and all that. So spice grinder we'll be using. And then the last thing, this is what I like to do, a fine mesh strainer and a vessel that the strainer can go into. And this just happens to be kind of perfect. It's big enough that I can just do the amount that I'm making, doesn't make a big mess. And then of course this has a little spout that I could pour into the bottle. So that's what I have. And then you'll need some measuring items and things like that. But let's get right into this and make some sauce. Okay, so for this recipe, like I said, we have our habanero here. This is going to simulate like a Carolina Reaper or something super spicy. What I like to do is I start with 4 ounces of peppers. 4 ounces is just a rough number. It turns out that it's about 4 or 5 to 6 peppers. You know, some are really small. It's good to have a scale, but you don't have to be super precise. And just this amount. So I have 4 of the sweet peppers, 1 of the hot peppers, and this is about all we need. Keep in mind the color. I'm keeping them all red. That package I had red, yellow, and orange. If you have orange habaneros or orange peppers, try to get orange peppers. Try to match. Try not to mix them, because if you mix them, it kind of makes it brown and maybe not the most appetizing, but a bright red, you know, really screams hot sauce. Or if they're all yellow, you know, that's pretty cool too. So the first thing we got to do is we're going to wash these. And then we need to cook them. Now, my preferred way to cook these is to air fry them or put them in a convection oven. I see a lot of people where they cut them open, they might put them on a skillet. And I think that gets a lot of the capsaicin airborne and gets into your kitchen, and you can smell it, you cough, it irritates you and all that stuff. But I've had really good luck in an air fryer. So I'll wash these up real good, put them in an air fryer for at like 350 for about 8 to 10 minutes, and they're close to blowing open, right? But we need to soften them up, because if you don't soften them and you just use them fresh, then the sauce can get kind of grainy. And we just really need these to soften up and get that pulp or the flesh really soft, so we can blend them up. So first thing we're going to do is wash these up, get them in the convection oven, and we'll go from there. Okay, we've washed up our peppers. Just good cold water. We'll give them a good rinse, and now we're in the convection oven. And we're going to set the convection oven. Easy convect. Let's see here. I always have to. This is a new device for us, so we have to figure out how this works. Enter a time. I like to go 350. And it's going to say for how long. And I'm going to say, what did I say, about 10 minutes? 10 minutes. Start. All right. Okay. Now, while the peppers are cooking, we can go ahead and do our dry ingredients. So what you're going to need is roughly 4 teaspoons of dry ingredients. I just so happen to want garlic, onion, and paprika. You could add cayenne, you could add mustard powder, really anything you want, but try to keep it around 4 teaspoons. So we're going to go ahead and do that and get everything in the spice grinder. Okay, we have our 4 teaspoons of dried ingredients. I just so happen to put a teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of paprika. Let's give this a nice pulse and get this thing turned into actual powder. I do like to shake it a little bit, and this is a dedicated hot sauce, pepper or spice grinder. I don't use it for anything else, so there we go. Now, after I've turned that into a dust, you might want to let that sit for a little bit, because you open that up, that powder's gonna get in the air and irritate your sinuses, so I'm gonna let that sit a little bit. All right, cooking is complete. Let's check these things out. Oh yeah, even starting to soften up. So what I like to do is then I bring them out. See, they're a little wrinkled, but they're, you know, if you want to get more nice and hot. So I'm gonna end up putting these all in this paper towel here and just kind of give them a little bit, and they'll really soften up just as they cool. But if you want to roast them a little bit more, have at it. But this works for me. So, and then you just kind of pull them by their stems here, and so we'll let those kind of sit a bit, and then we'll start making our sauce. All right, now our peppers have been cooling for a little bit, and you can see that they're nice and like wrinkly and soft, and there's our habanero, nice and soft. And so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna put everything in our mixing vessel here. What I like to do is I just cook them with the stem, and then when they're nice and hot, the stem actually just pulls right off. It's pretty simple. So, and then the whole pepper is good for me. Just throw it in there. And there are times that sometimes I have to cut these off, you know, they're kind of a nuisance, but there we go. Here's our, again, this is for my brother who has the Carolina Reaper in 7 pots. So this is the habanero. Probably should have gloves, but because I'm not cutting them open, it's not, I haven't had an issue with it. Now, if you have Carolina Reapers or something blazing hot, please wear gloves. You're gonna really thank yourself later. And so there's that. We can discard this. I'll put it right up on there. Now it's time to add our dry ingredients. So let's grab our spice grinder. Now you gotta be careful with this. This is the only thing that I've ever had an issue where the dust kind of gets to my sinuses and makes me cough and sneeze. And my wife always laughs at me because she hears me cough and sneezing, and I say, I'm having a great time. Right, hon? There she is. Okay. Dry ingredients. Kind of hard to see. Hard to point it down, but you can see there. Now it does get stuck, so that's why I have this brush taped to the side. And so it's kind of nice and easy because you get this stuff airborne, and it really messes with your sinuses. So just take your time. Now, because it's mostly, you know, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, nothing hot. Now, when I do my own, the way I really like to do it is I have a dehydrator, and I dehydrate the same pepper, because I really like when you focus and, you know, really highlight the pepper that you're using. I find that those are the best sauces. I've actually not had a lot of good luck with complex sauces. Kind of loses the flavor, or at least loses the hot sauce flavor. You know, I like hot sauce, and so there we go. And I want to taste the hot sauce, is what I was trying to say. I can already kind of get that powder. You do want to add some salt. So if you have a little shaker, that's cool. If you want to use seasoned salt, black salt, truffle salt, whatever you want. I don't really have a measurement for this. It's probably just like a 1/4 of a teaspoon or so. But what I like to do is pretend like you're seasoning a burger and just kind of sprinkle it in like you're seasoning a burger. So even though I'm using this big thing, it's maybe like that. You can always add more later if you need it. You can't take it out, so just be careful with that. And then there's really no measurement for vinegar, because this is kind of your preference. Do you like a nice runny sauce like Tabasco. Tabasco is like mostly vinegar, right? Something a little thicker like a Cholula, maybe. It's a little thicker, you know. I like nice thick sauce, actually, you know, but make it nice and thin because you do want to be able to splash it. I like that, you know, splash it on some wings or some food or eggs, things like that. So I usually just kind of eyeball it, and then I add as I go. Now, because we have so much dry ingredients here, it will thicken up as we're going. So if anything, you're always adding more and more and more. So here we go. So I filled it up, oh gosh, I don't know, about halfway. Let's just say the peppers came to there, filled it about halfway. That's good enough for us to start blending. Smells good. So we're gonna take our immersion blender, start pulverizing this into a like a mash, I guess you could call it. And then we'll just add some vinegar to the desired thickness. And I do shoot for more thick than runny, because then after I strain it, that's when I truly adjust with more vinegar. So I want it nice and thick after I strain it, and then I'll add vinegar to bring it to the desired thickness. So now we're gonna go ahead and blend her up. Now the consistency that you want is kind of like this. See how it's just really nice and pureed, but yet it's still kind of thick. It you know, really sticks to the blender, but yet it's got some viscosity to it. And as you blend this, you really should let it sit for a little bit to let all that dried seasoning, spices, and you want to get all the stuff, like see there's a little bit there on the side of the wall. You want to get all that down into the hot sauce. So what I typically like to do is let it sit for a little bit. This is like perfect consistency for me right now, but I'll let it sit there for just a little bit, and then we'll taste it and kind of see what we need to do here. Okay, so we let it just sit for a little bit, not long, a few minutes or so. I pulled the immersion blender out. Now I use 2 spoons. This is just so I don't contaminate the sauce. Not that it's a huge deal. I'm gonna be probably the only one eating this, but just to keep the germs out and all that stuff. But now it's time to taste it, right? So we have our spices, our peppers. We have that one hot pepper, which habanero, which is pretty hot, you know, but it's not a super hot. But for our case here, simulating that, hey, we can make hot sauce that's not blazing hot with blazing hot peppers. So that's kind of the idea here. But I like to do the 2-spoon method, one to scoop in, kind of drip it onto the one, and then this is the one I eat, and that kind of keeps everything safe. So it's a really nice thick sauce. And then I like to keep a paper towel or a paper plate here just to kind of put all my stuff, but you can kind of see there, it's pretty thick. I don't know, it's hard to show the camera, but here we go. Let's see what we did. Hey, that's got actually a pretty nice little spice to it. It's a little bit warm still from warming up those peppers, but I love hot sauce that has a lot of bite. So I use just white vinegar, so that's got the most bite to it. You don't have to use that. You can actually cut it probably with a little bit of water too. I've watched some YouTube videos and people are saying, you know, oh, those of you that don't like, you know, a lot of the vinegar bite and all that. I love it. So I prefer just straight white vinegar, but this is great. Trying to figure out what I'm tasting, right? Obviously all the peppers. The habanero has a pretty good spice to it. Habaneros have that, like, you know, prickly pain on your tongue kind of a feel or heat. I'm getting vinegar. Wow, that's got more heat than I thought. At least in the back of the throat. Excuse me. Yeah, a lot of onion powder, I get that. But wow. So yeah, if you're using like a blazing hot Carolina Reaper, you may want to think about cutting it in half, or maybe in quarters, I don't know. But, or maybe double the batch, you know. Have a lot more of the regular peppers. Now this is pretty good. Just got me in the back of the throat, which is not an excuse or anything, but it's got a pretty good heat to it. I'm gonna try it again. It's okay to try it multiple times. That's the whole point, right? We're gonna eat this and put it on food. You know what's crazy is those non-heat peppers have a little sweetness to it. So it's some real natural sweetness. I mean, it doesn't taste like I added sugar, but you can taste the sweet peppers, which is actually kind of nice because it's sweet and hot, which is kind of my favorite thing. So, so now it's kind of thickened up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to strain it, and then after we strain it, then we'll adjust the thickness with some more vinegar. So, all right, that'll be the next step. Okay, we have our strainer and we have our vessel. This is just a measuring cup. Ends up just working really nice. That it fits right here, and we're going to use this to strain out the sauce. It has really thickened up, and it thickens over time. Now you don't need to strain your sauce. You could leave it like this and just have it kind of pulpy. That'd be perfectly fine. I like it strained because I just like the smoothness of it, and that's just a preference of mine. If you don't have a strainer, you don't have to use it. I like to use it. This is my preference, but this is by all means wonderful as is. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the spoon and strain this sauce, and we'll see you when we get there. All right, well, we've strained our sauce. This is what we have here. Super thick, as you can see. It's almost like, I wouldn't say ketchup thick, but it's close to that. And then what's left over is our pulp. Now this here, a lot of YouTube people, whatever YouTube videos, they'll, what they like to do is they like to save that. They like to dehydrate it. Then they grind it up with their spice grinder and make it into like a chili powder, right? It's got a little of the vinegar in it, so apparently it's really tasty. What I like to do is I actually like to save that, and after I make a number of sauces, I kind of combine them, and then I like to make like a pepper jelly or something. Either it's a pepper jelly or like a pepper relish, and not so. I mean, it's kind of more the pulp and all that stuff, but I kind of like doing that. It's a little simpler than dehydrating. So that's not a whole lot there, but definitely worth saving and making something out of it. And so this now, what we're gonna do is add a little bit more vinegar so it's a little bit more pourable, but that is beautiful thickness. So, all right, that'll be the next step. All right, so one reason why I like to use a measuring cup, because I can see how much we've made. Right now we've made about 200 milliliters, and 200 milliliters, or let's see here, ounces, little over, just about 7 ounces or so. Like I said, it's gonna fill up one of those hot sauce bottles, which are typically 5 ounces. So it's usually, that's close to like 1.5. We're gonna add a little bit more vinegar here because this is great. I think it's gonna thicken up a little bit more as it cools off. So I'm gonna add a little bit more vinegar. Add a little bit at a time and see how it goes. Okay. see how that goes. Some YouTube videos will say add it a teaspoon at a time, taste it. Really, just take your time. But also with cooking, it's a little bit, if you add too much vinegar, well, it's a little bit more splashy. It's a little bit more like Tabasco or something. This is pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit more, just because the dried ingredients, they really do take a lot of time. So one thing, if you're really worried about the consistency, you can let this sit in the refrigerator for a little bit, let it cool down, let those dry ingredients soak up some of that vinegar, and adjust it from there. It is what it is. It's a little bit of an art, so I like to kind of see what the sauce turns out like, and that's kind of the fun for me too, is well, let's see what it turns out. But this recipe is so simple. There's no fermenting. It's easy. You get it done in like an hour, and you're enjoying it soon after. So for me, it's been easy. I do love to ferment stuff. I'd like to make beer and wine, and you know, just this has just been working for me. It's easy and it's consistent. I'm gonna add a little bit more. So that's why I don't have a full recipe. However, the amount of peppers is usually about the same, about 4 ounces. So if you're at the store and you see peppers, so 4 ounces of peppers is pretty common, at least where we live. So, oh yeah, this is looking good. This is looking nice and splashy. I mean, I could go even more splashy too. I just feel like that's gonna thicken up in the bottle and be kind of perfect. So, it's something I like to definitely want to use, splash and stuff. Where's my spoon go? My tasting spoon. So always before you bottle it, taste it. Because now is the time if it needs a little salt, if it needs something else. Oh, yeah. So now, before I was kind of showing the spoon to you, and it was pretty thick. So now this is a little bit more runny, I guess. Let's try it out. Wow. There it goes. Right in the throat again. A lot more vinegar, a lot more zing. But that's what I like. I like that. The pepper with it. Wow. That's pretty good. It's hotter than I thought, actually. Just one habanero is actually giving this thing quite a punch. Oh, it's so good. So good. Let me try it one more time. I'll actually bring the camera over here so you can see the thickness, or at least the consistency, which you can probably see through here, but just in case you want to do it the way I do it, this is perfect. And actually, we're right about just shy of 8 ounces. So, that's what I like. And what I'll do is, sometimes I'll do 2 batches, 2 different sauces, and I'll have a full bottle of the sauce, and then I'll have a 3rd bottle of the mix, and that's pretty fun too. All right. Last thing is bottle it. All right, let's do that. All right, so I buy these I think they're Uzi bottles or Woozy bottles, whatever you want to call them. They're hot sauce bottles, and they're 5 ounces. They do come with caps and the little flow restrictors. I do like to use these. There's a lot of YouTube, people on the internet, I guess you could say, that are against these because they're like, oh, why would you want to, restrict the flow? With the kit I bought, it turns out if you don't use those, the cap actually leaks. So just be careful with that. So regardless of the thickness of the sauce, I always just put one of these. And if you're using it, hey, just pop it off and pour it on your food. It's perfectly fine. So yeah, make sure your bottles are clean. If you are giving these to friends, family, you want to save them for like a long time. I mean, from what I've read and what I've watched, hot sauce is good if you sterilize it for like 2 years, maybe even longer. What I like to do if I'm giving these to people or giving them to coworkers, or I like to take the sauce and I should put it in a saucepan and I bring it up to 190 degrees. And then what I'll do is I'll pour it hot into the bottles. And what that does is the heat actually sanitizes the bottles, kills all the bacteria. And then put the cap on, flip it upside down. What that does is it puts the sauce to the cap and sanitizes that too. The way I eat hot sauce, these don't last a month, maybe 2 months. So am I going to cook it? I'm not too worried about it. I mean, there's a lot of vinegar in here. I cook the peppers, so it's pretty close. I don't have these sanitized, but they're cleaned really well. So, just be understanding of what you're doing. Be cleanly. If you're gonna give sauces to people, make sure you're doing food safety and all that stuff. Since these are just gonna be for me, I'm gonna eat these in the next month or so. And here we go. So now we just got a bottle. We'll see how that goes. All right, looks like we made 1 and just shy of a half. That's probably a third or so. So I don't. Maybe these aren't 5 ounces, but maybe they're a little bit bigger than that. But we're gonna go ahead and put their caps on. Whoop! Running away there. And again, if I was gonna make another sauce, I would just make another one and then just, fill up a bottle and then put the rest of it in here. And the mix is kind of fun because you get different, all sorts of different flavors. But look at that. I mean, a nice, Cholula type, at least consistency. Really pourable and easy. This will thicken up though. So right now it's room temperature. As it cools off, I do keep these in the fridge because I didn't put it, there's no preservatives in it, and I didn't sterilize it or anything. So I do keep them in the fridge, that's for food safety. But as it cools off and those dried ingredients continue to take some of the moisture away, it will thicken up. So the next day or something like that, you put it in the fridge, you do have to shake these because a lot of that dried ingredients will kind of like solidify, kind of like float to the top. Kind of got to mix that back in. But yeah, look at that. I mean, no thickeners. Can you believe that? No xanthan gum, no cornstarch, whatever people are using. That's just garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, pulverized into a powder, and you get this really nice thick sauce. If you don't use the dried ingredients, it's just really watery. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I prefer. I like the really rich, thick sauce. Now, I don't know if I'd say this is thick, but it's at least thicker than if you didn't use it. So, all right. This has been wonderful. I think the next step is actually trying it on some food. So let's see what we got here going in the kitchen, and let's give this stuff a real test. All right, so there you have it. From start to finish, how to make hot sauce the simple way, without fermenting, with no thickeners, with sweet peppers and 1 hot pepper. So pretty nice. This one's pretty nice to see the thickness there. It's great. Now, the real test. How does it taste on food? Well, I just so happen to have a little bit of this Philadelphia cream cheese and onion, and then I whipped it with a little milk and bacon, and I'm gonna go ahead and try that. The idea is, or the thought, is like a jalapeno popper. Even though it's not jalapenos, oops, forgot to open it. Even though it's not jalapenos, still the idea of cream cheese and bacon, and let's go ahead and, oops, see, nice and splashy. You got it all over my hands. All right, cheers. all over. That's really good. Tell you what, that's very splashy because I just got it all over my hands. Make sure I wash my hands with Dawn dish soap tonight, but the flavor of that, oh wow, that tastes like a jalapeno popper. Not exactly, because it's not quite jalapenos, but boy, that's good. Also, pizza. I got a little, what do you call it? Frozen Red Baron pizza. Hot sauce is always so good on pizza. This is a great consistency. Just like Frank's Red Hot or something. Here we go. So, when I was eating it just by itself, really was getting the back of my throat. On food, it's kind of not even that hot. Let's do a nice big dollop there. The vinegar obviously is very, very upfront. The sweet peppers are what I'm tasting. A little warmth there. I'm sure the more you eat it, the more it builds, but wonderful, fantastic on pizza. And you know, it's nice and splashy right now. Maybe tomorrow morning it might thicken up. And but boy, this won't last long. Just the way I eat it. All right, that's that. Everybody have a wonderful time. Thank you for watching. All those things on YouTube are you're supposed to do. I don't know. What do people do? They like and subscribe. I don't really care. Just have a wonderful day. See ya.